There it is, man. That was 1996 Kentucky NCAA championship win, and it couldn't have been done, Heather, without the players.
Right.
It couldn't have been done without the school, Heather B. But it most certainly couldn't have been done without our guest today that's sitting right next to us, the one and only, the one coach who led 3 different schools, Providence, Kentucky, to Louisville, to the Final Four, is here with us today. The one and only Rick Pitino is here.
R.P.
What up, Coach? How you doing, Coach? Put me in the game, Coach.
Anytime.
Anytime. Put me in the game, Coach. How often did you hear that in your career? Put me in the game, Coach.
A lot in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not so much in college. They just be quiet and listen to the coach.
Who was the NBA player that just nagged you the most about getting in the game?
Oh, there was so many. Ken the Animal Bannister when he played for me with the Knicks. Guys that don't get too much time. But when you're down 15, it's in the fourth quarter, you're not going to win the game with 3-4 minutes. But put me in.
Put me in, Coach. Let me get my numbers, man. Who was a player, like an NBA player, that you really grew a strong relationship with, a friendship off the court?
You know, Mark Jackson and Patrick Ewing, 2 guys I'm really close to. Bernard King, who was assistant coach of the Knicks, was close with him. So many guys. Kiki Vandeweghe and Rick Carlisle were on the bench, but I like Ernie Grunfeld when I was the assistant coach with UB Brown with the Knicks. But we had a great group of guys. We were close. We won the Atlantic Division. We had a good time. And if it wasn't for a young man named Michael Jordan, we probably would have had a shot at the championship that year.
Yeah, that guy, man.
He's a killer. He's a coach killer.
He's a coach killer, man, right? Isn't he, right? I got to ask you, since you brought him up, man, it's always this conversation. It's a fun conversation. We have this in hip-hop, who's the greatest of all time and that sort of thing. It's all relative to the individual. But people pit Michael against Kobe or LeBron James a lot. If you were a coach and had to pick one to play with for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
You know, the thing that people don't realize is the training mechanisms that go on today compared to when Michael played, compared to when Wilt played and Russell. So it's different. I go by, if I had to go 4 GOATs, I kind of have 4 guys, not 2.
Okay,
so I think Magic Johnson, first of all.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. Magic Johnson. People don't know enough to know his career.
Well, not only did he win championships, but Magic was a 6'9" point guard when they didn't have him back then. He also, when Kareem got hurt, went and scored 40 to beat the Celtics at the center spot.
Yeah.
So how many guys can go from, playing point guard to the center spot, making jump hooks in the lane? And then I go to Kobe. Kobe was a phenomenal worker, very passionate basketball player. I thought he belongs in that discussion. And then, of course, Michael and LeBron. I think it's those 4. Now, that doesn't take away from the greats of Elgin Baylor and Julius Erving or Russell and Chamberlain. They're all great during their era, but, Michael and sort of LeBron go back and forth. Michael's my favorite player of all time because I was coaching back then, and I just got to watch him, and whether he's sick and his stomach's upset, he's got 102 fever, and he's scoring 60 points. I just seen him do so many amazing things. And then LeBron is the greatest specimen I've seen step on. You don't realize how big LeBron is.
Yeah,
he's probably 265, 270, 6'8", 6'9", and he handles it. He passes. He's a very cerebral basketball player. The great ones
They're smart.
really understand the game. Like Magic, Kobe, Michael, and LeBron. They have a great work ethic. They understand the game and how it should be played. And they're fun. I'd pay to watch all of them.
You pay to watch all. Rick Pitino is here. Round of applause for Rick, man. Damn, wow, great big round of applause for Rick there. What the hell? Cool, yeah, tight room right here, man.
We love you, Rick.
So, Rick, I want to ask you about Louisville, man. We know that you were placed on unpaid administrative leave in September of 2017. Rick, I'll be quite honest with you. I don't know the whole story behind it. But what can you tell us? Why were you placed on leave, and what is your side of the story?
Well, I wrote this book called My Story.
Okay.
It's out now. It's called Pitino, My Story. And in the book, it details 40 years of coaching, but it goes into great detail with what happened there.
Okay.
And basically what happened was this. The governor of the state, who's a big Kentucky fan, not a Louisville fan, a Kentucky fan.
Okay.
He fired the board of trustees that were very loyal to the athletic director and me, University of Louisville graduates, and brought in a foreign board of trustees, not because of the athletic director and me, but more so to get the president of the university. He brings them in. They are not Louisville fans. A scandal breaks. They don't even find out who's behind it, and it's there's a chapter in the book called Billions, which is the Southern District of New York. That on Showtime,
TV show.
the
Yeah,
TV
the
show
Billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
That's the Southern District of New York, and they're going after this guy Axelrod, and now they went after a lot of assistant coaches. The indictments have come out October 1st. It goes to trial here in New York with the Southern District of New York. And something broke. My name was mentioned by some scam artist who said, "Hey, Pitino's the big shot with Adidas. We'll call him and get more money for so on." Big false bravado by somebody I hardly knew.
Who was this person?
His name was there was a couple of them.
Okay.
But Christian Dawkins is one of the people who were indicted.
Okay.
The other young man who mentioned that statement was an AAU coach, really a low-tier basketball coach in the business, and he's the one that said it, and he took money from the FBI. He was supposed to give it to a prospect, and he would have gotten indicted. Instead, he kept it for himself.
Oh, damn.
So he got exonerated, never gave the money back to the FBI, apparently, and kept the money, and he's no longer indicted.
So he was supposed to give this money to a potential
Recruit's family.
A recruit's family. Who was that recruit? Was it Brian Bowen?
No. Somebody totally different.
Somebody totally different.
Right. But he kept the money. And then, on top of it, the FBI agent who was in on all of this stuff, he took some of the money they were supposed to give to these coaches. He was in Las Vegas. He gambled it and used it for alcohol and so on, and he got taken off the case. So this has been this is going to be a great Showtime piece if they ever
Rick
use this.
Pitino's here. Okay.
I was going to ask, though, because everything Sway is talking about and the questions that you're answering, to me as a fan, like as a fan of college basketball, what is it? Because it just seems like it's just money. Like you hear these stories about these kids who commit to the college, and then somebody got caught for tampering and going to the school and paying to give the mom a car to get them to convince. And then the kids sometimes get caught stealing sunglasses or stealing groceries out of the store because they're broke. Like, Coach, honestly, the system just seems screwed because these colleges or the board of trustees, whomever, are so greedy for money. Like, it's just a sad situation to me.
Well, I say in the book that 40 years ago when I got broke into the business, it was less than 10% cheating. Today, I still believe it's less than 10%, except it's gone from $1,000 to $150,000. And the reason it's gone so large is the shoe companies now buy the university. Adidas came in and bought the University of Louisville for $180 million. Under Armour comes in and buys a school for $200 million. Nike comes in and buys for $250 million. And they own all the marketing products. And when you're paying somebody $250 million, you want to see them become successful. And that's where it filters down into some low-level corruption. Then the person, well, the athletes should get paid. So I bring up, yes, they should. If I'm an athlete at the University of Massachusetts where I attended, and I want to do a commercial like any other student, I should be able to do it, get paid $15,000, $20,000. But then the NCAA says, yeah, but if you're at Alabama and football's so big, they're going to get $100,000 for doing a commercial because it's so big. If you're a Kentucky basketball player, you're going to get $100,000. Where if you're at Fordham, you're going to get paid $2,000. So that's what. Nobody has the answers or the solution to these problems, but right now it is less than 10%, I think, corruption that's going on. And you're right, there are a lot of problems, but there are a lot of problems with the legal profession, with the medical profession, and it's less in Wall Street. It's political corruption. It's just everywhere, but it's something that needs to be cleaned up.
Something that needs to be cleaned up. There was reports of a sex scandal with Louisville.
Yes.
What was the scandal?
Scandal was one of the employees, and he was my captain. I had two beautiful parents, good kid from Cali. I still love him today. He did some things in a dormitory. He brought in some strippers through a side door late, 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was reprehensible behavior. They did it 4 times a year. People said, well, how come you didn't know it? Because at 1 in the morning, through a side door, security didn't know it. The assistant coaches didn't know it. 6 players on the team didn't know what was going on. It was done in very late hours at night. It was the wrong thing to do without question, and I paid the consequences of being out of something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. I would imagine so. They come down on you a lot for not monitoring what was happening on the team.
You know, look. Everybody always says, "Oh, he knows everybody's body fat, and he knows every play that's going on." He said, "How could he not know?" Well, you know, it's very easy. I'd probably be the last person to know. You know, it's going to filter up from the players to the assistant coaches, to the head coach, to the managers who are around, to other people living in a dorm. Think about it this way. In today's generation, so you bring strippers in a dorm, and you're a high school kid, and you're witnessing this bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You go home and you say to your friend, man, you're not going to believe what I witnessed at the University of Louisville.
Yeah.
And you're not going to believe it. Well, he's going to tell a friend, he's going to tell a friend, and you know what's going to happen. It's going to leak out on social media.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't leak out for 4 years. So these kids were scared that they were going to lose their eligibility. The players were scared that I was going to throw them off the team. The one person responsible for this behavior, he knew he was out of a job. So they must have scared the hell out of these kids and said, if you mention it, you're going to lose your eligibility. That's the only thing I can figure out how this didn't leak out in social media.
How you didn't know either. For that you said it took 4 years. For
look,
it to come out.
I'd probably be somebody wrote a book. This lady who was involved with this whole thing wrote a book, and about it. I'd be the last person to probably know as the head coach.
What would you say you could have done differently to help improve this situation? Like, what accountability would you take for all of this?
Well, I'm out of a job. That's the accountability.
Okay.
I'm away from the game. I eat, sleep, and drink for 40-plus years.
Yeah.
But accountability, you know, I mentored over 30 assistant coaches who have become head coaches. I've started out in the book, the foreword's written by Jeff Van Gundy. He was my same graduate assistant that this young man, Billy Donovan, the Oklahoma Thunder. Brett Brown, the head coach of the Sixers, was my captain at BU. I mentored him as a player the same way I did the coach of Las Vegas, the coach of Cincinnati, the coach of Manhattan College. So many pro coaches and college coaches. You know, Seton Hall coach was my assistant. And they all did it the right way. Well, when you mentor 35, 40 people, one or two of them do it the wrong way, you just got to live with it. And it hurts, but you have to live with it.
You got to live with it. Rick Pitino was here, ladies and gentlemen, 888-742-3345. T-Ray is on the line from Wisconsin. Go ahead, T-Ray.
T-Ray.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey.
Coach, I just want to, I got a quick question. I was wondering, like, you know, with the NBA having the one-and-done rule, do you think that once because eventually they're going to get rid of that and they're just going to, you know, bypass that and have kids come straight from high school to the league, do you think that might have played a factor in what happened at Louisville with you, or do you think that inevitably things would have occurred regardless? Or, I mean, what is your opinion really on the one-and-done rule as opposed to the you know, straight from high school to the NBA?
Well, first of all, when you're a one-and-done basketball player, legitimate one-and-dones, like the Bagleys and the Aitons who went to Arizona, by the time they get ready to choose their college, agents, runners, have already spoken to families, uncles, aunts. They don't necessarily sign a contract, but they're already in on them because they realize there's only going to be a 6-month education. So in 2022, the NBA is probably going to come out and say, okay, no more one-and-dones. High school kids can now go to the pros. Here's the danger in the whole thing. It's going to weaken college basketball, certainly. The stars are going to, the ones that 1 year are going to be gone. The real dilemma is, for me, looking at kids from inner cities who now have to get 16 core requirements. They have to have a certain grade point average to go to Georgetown, to go to Louisville, to go to North Carolina, wherever. So now the kids are going to say, hey, I don't have to get those grades. I'm going to go to the NBA. I'm going to go to the G League. If I don't make the NBA, I don't have to go to college.
Yeah.
So it's the guys who go to college for the one and done, they have a 5-month education. It's really going to hurt the high school kids who are getting a good, strong education with the right courses. And now we all in high school, I was going to be the next Clyde Frazier when I was in high school.
I see that.
So you remember that.
Yeah.
You weren't born, but you remember that. But, you know, it's you all overrate your abilities as a young athlete, and now suddenly you're going to say, I don't need school. I'm going to go right to the pros.
Yeah.
And that's the danger, is the lack of a young man getting a good education at the high school level. And so many kids are going to get hurt by that because they think they're really better than they are.
Rick Pitino, man. Hey, T, thank you for your call.
Wow.
I know you got to go. You got a live broadcast you got to do, man. But, man, since you're in New York, man, you got to come back.
I'd love to.
You got to come back, man. If people want to get the book, I know it's already out. They can still get the book, though, right?
Yep. It's called Pitino, My Story, and it goes into great length of what's happened the wrong way, but it also has a lot of great stories of great memories because my career has spanned 40 years.
Yeah.
I broke into the NBA when Kareem and Bird and Magic and all of them were in their prime, and Michael was just a youngster, and then ended it with guys that you see on the court today. So it's and Kevin, by the way, Kevin Durant, he's going to be included in that discussion in the next 2 or 3 years with those 4 guys because he's a 7-footer that plays like a 5'11" guy, and so it is so many great players.
And I'm from Oakland, so I like to hear that. Warriors. All right, Rick looking at me like I don't get it.
You on your own.
Golden State Warriors, Rick Pitino. Golden State.
Yeah, I know well.
I know you love all that 3-point shooting with Steph Curry too.
All right, Rick Pitino, thanks for coming by, man.
Thanks for
having
having me.
Things up, man. You can always come back too, man. We got more sports coming up.
Yes, wait, we have to talk about Major League Baseball. A lot going on.
Stay 4-5.